Oh, that's beautiful. All right, let's take another call. You're calling from a 479 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Let's see. This might be me.
Yes, this is you. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Oh, super. This is Daniel from Norway.
Hey,
It's
Daniel.
been a little while since I've called.
How are you?
Yeah,
What's
it's
on your
great to be
minds?
with you, and yeah, really good. And it's nice also to have Emma in the studio.
Do you know
She,
any Vigelands in Norway?
What?
Do you
If
know
I-
any Vigelands or Vigeland?
Vigeland.
Vigeland.
Well, I know obviously the way
park.
we would pronounce.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, the way we would pronounce it is Vigeland. You know, at least that's in my dialect, but.
No,
yeah, but
let's-
anyway,
let's-
what I wanted to.
I'll definitely make sure
Yeah,
to
what
have
if-
it right the next time she's on the show.
No, don't. I mean, I'm sorry
Certainly.
for using
Well,
the
I don't-
Americanized
well,
version.
It's not necessary, I think, really.
Joining
to
us
use,
now is Emma
Norwegian
Vigeland.
pronoun-
We're talking about the race for president. Actually, I can get into that.
Yeah, but,
Yes, Daniel, what's on your mind?
but anyway,
Sorry.
what I wanted to mention is, I mean, I probably should have called the majority board. I've been meaning to because this is kind of.
Boo. Very, very,
but it's
very,
an
very
important
bad
conversation,
opening.
I think,
Very bad.
because I think, well, yeah, well, but on this show though, I think people have a bit of a like I think we're in more of alignment in terms of what I'm thinking about. The topic is essentially this conversation that we're having about democratic socialism and social democracy, and I at least feel, you know, as a Norwegian, that I have sort of a particular view on this, right?
Okay.
And I mean, as you're aware, social democracy is in decline, not just in Norway, but in other countries in Europe as well.
Right.
It's been under attack for quite some time now, and conservative parties have made fairly good inroads. I would say, just in the Norwegian context, they're fairly well on the way to really damaging a lot of public institutions, you know, and so, but in any case, though, the thing that I think a lot of people are kind of missing here is that there's a compatibility issue, right? Why democratic socialism as opposed to social democracy? In my view, I think democratic socialism is what makes social democracy sustainable, right? Because we need infrastructure in order to maintain these public institutions like, you know, public healthcare, public education, and so on. And this is like really direct, right? It's really important. One way to illustrate this is we have now a public health minister for the kind of far right party, you know, the sort of the Bannon-esque brand, and she, this public health minister, her sort of slogan recently is, and she was newly elected, right, newly brought in, and her slogan is, you know, let people smoke, drink, and eat red meat, you know, as much as they want. It's this kind of classical libertarian idea, and the thing that's important to kind of think about is that this is not just a political view; it is a strategy, right? These people think in terms of strategy,
Right.
And the point is that, you know, when they are pushing these kinds of ideas, what they are doing is they are essentially using a strategy that's built on almost like a war of attrition to disarm and dismantle public institutions. So let's just take healthcare for a moment, right? The reason why they enable a private food industry that's really promotes a lot of unhealthy food is because this creates negative health outcomes, right? Which damages quite severely our ability to have a sustainable public healthcare system. So this is something that really people need to grasp because it's incredibly important.
Is your point, and I think I agree with you on this. I think that part of the reason social democracy is so able to be rolled back is because you haven't taken more of the playing field out of play, right? And I think that is where maybe
Exactly.
because I find a lot of these debates to be really pedantic and boring and very like useless and college dorm bullshit, which nobody has time for, just to be honest.
Except Ben Shapiro.
Oh yeah, well not even no, because he wouldn't argue about something so interesting, right?
Yeah.
He'd be like, that is a lie, sir. Welcome, Emma Vigeland.
Yeah.
Norwegian, I presume.
Or no, except he wouldn't even do that because he wouldn't do enough prep. What do you think of this democratic socialist versus social democratic thing?
I think I see what you're saying, and I think that there is a framing problem in the way that it's discussed in American discourse, and I think we all practice democratic socialism to a degree. It just depends on the degree, and the United States is behind in our practice of democratic socialism. We've failed to adapt. We failed to adapt to the necessary, obstacles that have come our way. Just we've seen Europe and other major democracies have adopted a healthcare system because that made sense to, as society evolves, to envelop that into what is provided by the government. But because the United States has really embraced many of the issues that you're saying from a libertarian perspective, and in many ways it's treated as, I think in bad faith, but as one of the foundational ideas of this country is this kind of rugged individualism, that that's part of the reason that we're so behind. But I would also say that maybe, I guess, talking specifically about the United States, part of why we're so behind, too, is because we have this massive amount of wealth and corporate power that say, I mean, I know Norway, obviously there are major companies there that are very successful, but it's, you would say, not...
growing.
Yeah, growing now, but not in the way that the United States has kind of enabled this complete corporate takeover of our government. So it makes those arguments seem more legitimate even when they're not. So I sympathize with what you're going through, because obviously Norway and Finland is the other fourth of, other major part of my heritage, and my grandmother was from there, and they're both stalwarts of social democracy, and I fear that a lot of what we're seeing in Hungary and Poland and what you're talking about in Norway is going to spread there, because we look to you guys to hold down the fort.
And I think
and
we need to take things off of
sorry.
the playing field in order to protect social democracy, right? So I think you're right in terms of, if you democratize more of the economy, that's more of a safeguard for the programs you're talking about. David, you wanted to say something?
I mean, that's absolutely true. And also, the historical development, too, of the social democratic program, specifically in Norway and Finland. Let's also not forget the reality of the fact that you have the Soviet Union right next door, which creates that kind of tension. It's like, if we don't give people these basic necessities, then there is the potential of, them going, Bolshevik or something
Finland
like that.
especially, which, Norway and Sweden are much closer. Correct me if I'm wrong. Daniel, right? Daniel?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Finland is much more like Russia than the other two. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
So, Daniel, we appreciate the call. Please call back in again soon.
Yeah, can I mention something really quick? I don't want to take up too much more time, but I just wanted to mention that, the thing is, like, yes, here in Scandinavia, we've had and elsewhere as well, obviously, we've had a consensus for a very, very long time now, or at least for a while, about social democracy, but consensuses change, and so we need proper infrastructure in order to make this really last. Because if we give like an inch, if we give room for conservatives, reactionaries, to try and sort of exploit loopholes, dismantle programs, defund, all of these different things, they have really sophisticated strategies to do this, to roll back social democracy. We have to make sure that we have our infrastructure in place, which, in my view, like I said, means that we have to push the envelope. We have to make sure that we go beyond social democracy and implement more socialistic structures in the workplace. For example, we have to have proper workers' rights. So the workplace conditions are so that they don't produce these negative health outcomes, for example, which puts unnecessary strain on healthcare, or anything else. So, yeah, that's at least path forward.
And is there a party in Norway that you think is closest to that?
Well, we have I'm a member of the Red Party, which is socialist, communist, and they're making, very good strides politically in the polls. They managed to get one representative now in Parliament, which is really good. They haven't had that before. But now it seems like they're really on the rise. It's meteoric. And we've talked about this before because it kind of coincides with the decline of the more mainstream Labour Party as well, which is in really, really trouble because they have like a Clinton-esque type candidate that just seems to be like, he just cannot realize that the party is in trouble, and it is because of this sort of third way politics that he seems so committed to.
It's not the 1990s anymore. That's crazy. All right, maybe at some point you can connect us with a guest from the Red Party. We'll have him on the show. Thanks for the call. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.